I got a really great video about the mistranslation, which resulted in one of the biggest lies about so-called giants, creatures of ridiculous height in the book of Enoch. This lie and this mistranslation to this day is the reason why people can't read the book of Enoch. Um, there's nothing about creatures of ridiculous height in the book of Enoch. It's all about giants, mighty men, great armies of war, is what the book is telling you. But the translator, R.H. Charles, he knew this also, that it was about the size of armies, but he left these words in there because this is how it was. This is what he said what was written down in the Greek. So he just translated it, but instead of putting in every footnote of the book, so people when they read it they can get the correct interpretation, he left that out. And I don't know why they did that, and I got my ideas of why they did that, but they did it, and to this day, it's one of the greatest lies that you ever would have heard, and it's regarding giants in the book of Enoch. And I'm going to share it with you today. And you will, if you ever seen any of my videos, this is going to be a great one, man. I'll tell you. But let's look at it. The book of Enoch. This is the book of Enoch, first book of Enoch, chapter 7. Okay, and it's a small chapter, but it's everything. Okay, now I'm going to pick it up at chapter 7 here, 7:1. And all the others together with them took themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go into them and defile them. And they taught them charms, enchantments, and cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. See? And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants. See? Whose height was 3,000 ells. And people say, oh, 3,000 ells, that's 4,500 feet tall. That's almost a mile tall. I mean, it's ridiculous at face value, right? But they said, look, keep reading, man. They ate men like popcorn. Okay, let's keep reading. Okay. Who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Right here. Oh, they ate them. Oh, they ate them. Okay, they ate them. Are you sure about that? And they began to sin against the birds, beasts, and reptiles, and fish, and to devour one another's flesh, and drink the blood. Look, they ate them, and they also drank the blood of these people. These big giants, 4,500 feet tall, were eating these people like popcorn. And the earthly accusation against the lawless ones. Now they're just lawless, but before they were giants, they're 4,500 foot, creatures. Now they're just lawless. Okay, so there's something wrong here. So either you think a 4,500 foot giant's eating men like popcorn, or it means something else. Okay, well, let me tell you right now, it means something else. Okay, that's not what this means. Okay, so let's look at it real quick. We know this translation, by the way, is R.H. Charles. Okay, the leading translator of this book. Okay, so let's go in here. I want to show you a couple things that will make sense. Okay, now I wrote it was about the size of armies, and R.H. Charles knew this, see? And then AI will tell me that this is an excellent point. There's a very specific, deeply researched textual argument regarding the R.H. Charles translated, what he knew, and how the phrase 3,000 ells originally got into text. Like, how did this get into text? How did this get into the text? The original passage was likely never about the height of a single individual at all, but rather about the size of the armies, see, or a separate class of beings. So it was about the size of their armies. Now, there was confusion. There was a scribal error. Armies versus height, okay? Right here, it was about three groups, armies of beings. Okay, now they got this word ells, but there's these other words like Eliud. See these words, and it was misread, and And R.H. Charles, they knew it. Even prior, even corrections later, John Beatty, however you want to say his name, recognized the scribal corruption and corrected it in his work, removing the impossible height. So now they come to another book removing this height. But I want to show you that R.H. Charles, he was a Tanakh, which is the Hebrew books scholar. He knew these. He knew that giants in height, and he knew these type of things. But he still left it in his book, and he also knew about devouring flesh and drinking blood. He knew this was killing in war and stealing the acquisitions, because that's what the Bible says. That's how the Bible talks about that. It talks about devouring flesh and drinking blood, but it wasn't regarding you're eating people like popcorn. It was about killing a war and taking their acquisitions. Okay, so that's and he put it in his footnotes. If you got, there's a book out there. They don't print this book, but he's got it in his footnotes and all his footnotes that this was not regarding a creature of ridiculous height. Okay, so it wasn't. But so when you read this book, you don't know this information that this was. He knew it. The translators knew it, but they left it in there. But they should have put this in. It was a big thing because it'll direct you how you read this book. Okay, and others put it down to 300, and they all try to and saw the description of 3 armies. Oh, see, it's about the army. So now we got a problem. Because your imagination just ran wild, and you're reading this book and you don't know how to read it, and that's the problem with the book. Okay, and it's proven now. When you have all this knowledge at your fingertips now, you know that it's proven. So, and he was a scholar, and he knew it. Okay, so now we know that it was about these giants were giants of might. But now, why would he keep in Enoch? I wrote the devouring flesh, drinking blood was about killing and war and taking acquisitions. Yes, precisely. You have hit the exact historical metaphorical reason why the reality of the text. Okay, when you look at the Book of Enoch through the lens of a Tanakh scholar, just as R.H. Charles did, okay, because he was a Tanakh scholar. You see the term like devouring flesh and drinking blood and consuming acquisition are class Semitic idioms for military conquest, war and plunder, and brutal economic exploitation. Okay, so they knew this. They knew it. Consuming acquisitions. Look, it's war and plunder. Devouring flesh is slaughter in battle. Okay, and you want proof? You want proof? It's in verses. In the Bible, okay. It's to a scholar of Tanakh, eating flesh is a well-known poetic metaphor for violent military destruction. Okay, that's what it means. Here, drinking blood. No, drinking blood. No. Okay, drinking blood of the earth. Okay, it's an idiom for a mass murder and a battlefield slaughter. Okay, yes, to begin drinking blood. Found in the biblical war prophecies of Isaiah 49, God warns drunk on their own blood. Okay, so you know that when you drink and you consume acquisitions, just like I'm telling you, it's regarding military acquisition and military. So now we have a problem. We have a big problem because you see that they wrote this down in this book of Enoch. And you have to understand that the people that did this, well, when you pick it up at 7:1, not only when R.H. Charles and when they began to defile them But you have to understand that these are the offspring. These are the people that they bred. But they say, well, angels bred with man. But that R.H. Charles knew that too. Okay, he knew that it wasn't an angel, a spirit being breeding with man to form these 4,500-foot giants. That, I don't know. That was all people that read, a regular person that reads the book of Enoch. That's what they're going to tell you. But these Tanakh scholars and R.H. Charles and all these people, when they found these books, they knew it wasn't about that. There was not an angel breeding with man that formed these 4,500-foot giants. No, those ain't. And that was another trend. That was another thing that R.H. Charles knew. He knew that right here. And the angels and children of heaven saw and lusted and said to them, let's choose wives. But this word angel, if you look, that he knew that this wasn't about some sort of spirit being. That was another translation. They knew it. I'll get into another video regarding that. But I just want to show you that there was no verses that talk about some ridiculous height giant breeding, coming from a union between an angel and a woman, and then they went ahead and ate people like popcorn. That's not what these verses say, and it's evident. And to say that now in this day and age with all this information, to cross check exactly where these words came from, you got to know the author, you got to know the translator, you got to know where the book came from. You have to know. If you just want to read it to read it and read it and say, wow, there was giants and oh wow, book of the, but without doing any investigation, then this is the problem. This is the problem which you're going to have when you read the book of Enoch. But like I said, there's people that have been reading this book of Enoch for a long time. Like I've been reading this book for a long, long time, and I got this book from my father. And he read the book for a long, long time. And I'm older now, and my father is, when he read the book of Enoch, he was reading this book. And like I said, this book was handed down to me, and something I just didn't pick up. So what I know about the book of Enoch is going to be a little bit different than somebody just picking up the book. So you're going to have to look at people that know how to read this book, but this book tells you a lot of information. And if you know how to read it, it's unbelievable. And these words in this book are for a remote generation, and you will begin to understand how to read this book. Even in this book, it tells you that you will. This book was going to be for people that are going to be able to understand this book in the future. But once they get around all this other giant stuff and all, once you get past that and you really begin to learn how to read the book, then it's just going to be unbelievable. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you. There's no such thing as these creatures of ridiculous height. And thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to make more videos. I got a lot more to say. Thanks for watching. Bye.